Good afternoon, T-Wolves! Mr. Quentin here with what we did for Thursday and Friday. That's right, folks. It's a combo video today. Combo video. I'm a poet, and I didn't know it. Yes, here's what we're doing, ladies and gentlemen. We are talking about adaptation. And so I wanted to make sure we took a chance or had a chance to go over what adaptation is. Because when we adapt, it's important that you understand that adapt means to change yourself to fit into a physical environment. And so what you're looking at is the idea that, as always, geography can be boiled down into two very distinct things: physical geography and human geography. Naturally, we have lots of different ways to talk about physical geography and human geography, and that's part of what adaptation is. It's part of what adapting is. But we need to be able to bring it to those two things. And so with adapting, changing ourselves to better fit our physical environment, adapting means that even though humans are involved, it's actually physical geography. But Mr. Quentin, wait a minute. You always say that if it's humans doing stuff, then it's got to be human. But think about what we're doing in this particular instance. Are we changing our environment to better suit our needs? Are we really making that big impact on the environment? When we're not doing that, when we're adapting ourselves to better suit the physical environment, be it hot or be it cold or be it wet, then that's physical geography at work. We're having to adapt ourselves to that physical environment. Think about for a moment, if you were in a desert and you could not adapt to that environment, you would then have to leave that desert. That becomes a physical push factor. That is what is pushing you away from that environment, the physical environment itself. That's why it's physical geography at work when we adapt. And so let's take a look. I've got this wonderful little picture here. So you can see that this here is something that goes on the word wall here on campus. And of course, now that we're watching this video, it's online as well. So here you have this wonderful guy, and he seems to have some very crazy eyes, but he is indeed still showing at least 3 ways that he adapts. We have this wonderful igloo right here. It's his shelter. Just a simple way of saying a home, or at least something that will protect you from the elements. And it's an igloo. It's made out of ice and snow. Here you can also see that our dude, while crazy-eyed, is enjoying some fish that he has eaten. And you can see how he is adapting through the food that he eats. You can also see that the clothing, the furry clothing that he is wearing, shows that how he is adapting to clothing as well. So you can see just in these ways, just with these 3 things, how this guy is adapting. You can infer that this guy lives in a very cold environment, and that he has to use the skins of whatever animals that he finds, most likely polar bears in this particular instance, would be what he uses to wear to protect himself. He also is eating fish. As you can tell, this environment would probably not have a lot of cattle in it. You're not going to find a lot of cows and goats and what have you. But you can infer that there is at least water, sources of water around. They might be frozen over. It might be the ocean. But there is water available from which to get the fish. So an activity that this person is using, so adapting in many different ways through food, through shelter, through clothing, and activities like hunting, are ways that he adapts to this frigid environment. And so that brings us to what you're going to be doing today and tomorrow. So if we were pretending that we were in first period and we're jumping down here to quarter 1, and then we hop on over to week of October 13 through 16. If you're on Thursday, you're going to jump into the Thursday folder. If you were on Friday, we're going to jump into the Friday folder. This video is going to be in both places. And you're going to take a look here. For Thursday, we're going to look at how humans adapt through shelter and clothing. You are going to be able to follow the instructions in the assignment to complete the digital notebook. You may use Google, the CIA World Factbook, or any other resource to assist you. I do have a link to the CIA World Factbook here. And so what you're going to do is you are going to address how humans adapt through shelter and clothing. You're going to use a country that I am assigning right now in this video. If you're watching this video and doing the assignment for Thursday, I would like you to look at Mongolia. Mongolia, Mongolia, Mongolia. You will go there and look up and do research. Again, you can use the CIA World Factbook. You can also use Google to help you and look up things that would help you to find images and examples so that you can explain how these places, how Mongolia would adapt to their environment through shelter and clothing. On this very first slide, you'll see there's a big empty spot here on the left so that you can insert an image of something of a house or a type of shelter they use in Mongolia. I happen to know that a yurt is something that is used in Mongolia. So I can sit here and select my image and insert it into the slide. I would, of course, then shrink it down and put it in the right spot. By doing some additional research, I would be able to explain that yurts are one type of shelter used in Mongolia. They are easy to assemble and transport for the nomadic people who live there. And this is all I'm looking for, ladies and gentlemen. You do not have to worry about this. Don't overthink this. So you're going to do this here. You're going to find another type of shelter that Mongolia is going to use if this is Thursday. Then you're going to take a look and see what kind of materials you might use for that yurt. Clearly, they're using fabric, they're using wood, and perhaps other items as well. And so you will just put images of those materials that get used, and then again, simply give me a complete and complex sentence about why they use those materials. In this previous slide, you'll see that you're just finding a second type of shelter and doing exactly what you did in the first one. When you go to slide 5, you'll notice that it changes to clothing. You're just going to do the exact same thing that you did with shelter, but instead do clothing. Find an image, insert the image, and then explain over here why they would use that using complete and complex sentences. Find a second piece of clothing and explain. And then the materials. For example, if we're using my shirt as an example of clothing and it's made from cotton, then you would clearly want to have pictures of cotton in this here, and then explain that because cotton is what is grown in that region, that is what they use to make their clothes. So that's for Thursday. But what about for Friday? Why, it's the same thing, ladies and gentlemen, except this time you're going to be talking about how humans adapt through food and activities. You'll be able to use Google again. Again, you can use the CIA World Factbook, and you'll simply talk about food and activities. So instead of looking for shelter and clothing, you're going to find a type of food. Your country for Friday will be Brazil. So you can find a food that is really cool that they eat in Brazil, insert a picture, and tell me why they eat that food. Find a second food and do the same thing. Why do they eat it? And then maybe look up a celebration, which is a combination of activity and food. So you'll be able to do that as well. And then find 2 different activities for Brazil, 1 and 2. Insert images of those activities and explain using complete and complex sentences. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know. Send me a note up here in Schoology. Send me an email. And until then, I will see you on the other side. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Quinton, out.